Golden Lion for Best Artist in the International Exhibition goes to Tino Sehgal.
And the motivation reads, the Golden Lion for Best Artist in the International Exhibition goes to Tino Sehgal for the excellence and innovation that his practice has brought, opening the field of artistic disciplines. Artistic disciplines. E fa prima un discorso.
Okay, yeah, I'm a bit surprised, but I always like to hear Massimiliano speak, and I think he's amazingly eloquent. I think it's a pleasure for everybody to kind of participate when you're speaking. You were saying something about the philosophies of solitude.
I stole it from Camille.
Okay, okay, well that's what we all do, because that's why philosophies of solitude, I think, if you want to do an encyclopedia or not, they kind of never work, you know. And so I think that one thing, I think for me it's a big honor to have this prize, because it's really a prize which existed throughout the 20th century and really means something to me to be holding it. But I think that the 20th century was the century of like individualism and philosophies of solitude, and I hope that the 21st century we can kind of adjust that a little bit. And I think that in the way I've also created this work here is very much reliant in every second. Even right now, there are people who, while I'm holding this lion, kind of singing and dancing from some kind of inner position, which didn't have that much to do with me in a way. And so I think, you know, same move as Massimiliano, but I think this is for all the people who have shed their life and sweat and breath in all of these works of mine. I know it was hard often in all ways, but thanks for that. And the other thing I wanted to say, you know, because I like to talk, Jessica knows that, president of the jury. I think another thing about the 21st century, and that's why I think it's nice that it's a lion. Let me look at it. What I find, the 20th century was very much about like the humans as a kind of very confident masters, especially in art. You know, it was like we can do basically anything. We control the world. We can shape the world. And I think that's how I see your show also, is that we are not all that different. Our inner images are not so far away from a stone, you know? And that's why I think it's quite beautiful that this prize is actually an animal. I think that what is nice about the Venice Biennial, why it's a great honor, is that it's existed for more than 100 years, and really a lot of the 20th century artists, I think, were here, and to be part of that tradition, I think it's really my tradition, and to be like in a way officially put into that lineage is a great honor. The piece itself is very simple in a way. It's like 2 or 3 people, one is singing, the other one is like dancing, and they are both kneeling, mostly kneeling or sitting. And although I love the 20th century, one thing for me is that the 20th century was very self-confident. It was like this idea that we, as humans, we could do everything. We could take charge of the world, we could make everything work, and we didn't. And one sign of this kind of attitude for me is that like, we don't kneel anymore. You know, we don't have this modesty of going on our knees. It's a very physical thing. So my beginning point was to make a piece where somehow people were kneeling and somehow taking care of each other. I think that's an attitude which is present in the 21st century, which we understand that we maybe don't control everything. And then I think it's also in Massimiliano's show that we are looking also at like the forms of nature, like these stones of Roja Calwa. Like they are forms which are which are passing through us. We and the stone are not so different, and we are more part of this. We're not necessarily the masters. I think for me it's a physical thing. If you try at home and you go on your knees, you feel different. You don't feel like the master somehow. You feel like somebody who, you maybe feel a kind of gratitude. And I don't mean this in a religious sense, you know, like I'm not interested in this kind of fixed cosmology of religion, you know, where you bow in front of a master or some kind of monotheistic kind of construction called God or something, but just this simple act of just going on your knees puts you in a different mindset. We're trying to find people who have interesting sensibility and interesting relation to singing and dancing. That's the basis, and then I create some rules how they can move. You know, it's not that they can move however they want, but inside their rule, they're like a football player. Inside these rules, they can decide how they move. You know, so everybody has a different style. You know, like so, Ribéry has a different style than Robin. You know, but they're still both playing for Munich. For me, the museum is very important. I've said that many occasions, and I would not want to do something in a theater or in a cinema or something. For me, it's very important that you can come when you like. There's already thousands of people who come here, and I think it's much stronger to have the actual experience without too much information and also actually being there. And it's out of respect also to the visual arts, you know, the people who really do photography and painting. I am in the same field as them, and I don't pretend that if you make a photo of my work, that it can be as good as a really composed photograph or really composed video, you know? I think this is also a kind of cliche of our time, that we think everything has to be accessed at every moment. Today we're going back to the idea of seasons, you know? You eat something at a certain season. In Italy, you never lost this knowledge. Not everything has to be accessible at all times. My thing is a live thing, and you really experience it when you see it live. It doesn't also work. So also I think that art is not so much about understanding. I think if you start creating your own thoughts, if you have some kind of connection, if it generates something like a catalyst, that's fine.